It's Deprogram, the podcast where we try to get you into an artist. That's right, we've done all the work for you. All you have to do is press play and listen to us talk about Highway 1 East, Highway 1 West, and all things in between. Today we're talking about John K Samson, and I mean, it all makes sense that it would have come up on the Weaker Thans episode. I mean, but he may have already been on the long list that you put out, probably one of the first ones, John, yeah?
Yeah, maybe. Well, yeah, I think so because Winter Wheat I think didn't come out until 18 or 2019 maybe, so it would have been pretty fresh at that point. So yeah. But I think we definitely needed to do Weaker Thans first, and it was just a matter of finding time for it.
I feel like if you do that backwards, it's some kind of weird sin that can't get you.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, it kind of answers itself, right? I have to assume that you get into the Weaker Thans and then move on and realize John K Samson has solo music. I mean, but do you? So I'm trying to figure out how to how to get here.
Yeah. I mean, no, I was in it in real time. Like I was a fan of the Weaker Thans when they were around. Got to see them a bunch of times, and I remember it was probably 2008 or 2009, and the Weaker Thans had tweeted, "Oh, hey, we're getting together to work on new songs," and then it was like silence, and then it was like John K. Samson's working on a solo record, and it's like, oh, okay, well, something happened there. And I think, the first one came out. Well, he released a bunch of 7-inch singles first, and then they kind of took those songs, added a couple more, and then came up with the first record. Then it was a long time to get to Winter Wheat. There was a long break there. I think at least 5 or 6 years. And then there have been some other kind of tracks in between that he's been working on. But yeah, I mean, it's just a continuation of the like amazing songwriting, and like the guy can just break your heart with a simple phrase, and like has a way of turning simple things into very meaningful things, and like adding this depth and poignancy to just everyday life that I just always go back to, like, especially, over the last few months, like my go-to when I can't find something to listen to is I'm just going to put on John K. Samson.
So let me ask you this before we move to Chris. Do you view this more as an extension, or do you view it as something separate than the Weaker Thans completely?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, in some ways, it's a little of both because, I mean, he had toured with a full band a few years ago on the Winter Wheat tour, like a full rock band. And I think when I saw him solo, he was doing Weaker Thans songs. So in that sense, it's just an extension of his songwriting. And I think it's, he's still working with a lot of the people from the Weaker Thans, with one notable exception. But I think it's simplified more. Like he doesn't have to you don't have to deal with the politics of being him. He can just kind of drill down to the essence of what he does, and it doesn't have to be in a like a rock band, quote unquote, setting. So he's kind of free to do whatever he wants. And like he has a new band with his partner Christine Fellows, like Vivat Virtute, and they did an album last year, and then an EP on Bandcamp. It's all very good, and like I'm looking forward to there being more of that, so that we can eventually do that. But I think from what I understand, he's just content to just hang out in Winnipeg and knit and just teach and do whatever he does.
Well, I mean, what's funny is you listen to the music and all the things you just said. I think if we're talking about anything else, doesn't make sense. But like, it makes sense hanging out in Winnipeg and knitting. Like that doesn't throw me off the scent at all. Like,
oh yeah, he had they had a store where he was selling these scarves and stuff that he had made, and they sold out within like 2 minutes.
So I think I have to assume this came together though when we did the Weaker Thans, Chris. I know there was like a moment where it may have been after we did Shellac where you just kind of, you're like, oh yeah, I want to do that. But it's hard to get here. But like, is this just kind of like John's point? Like he lived it live, or did you just kind of find the solo stuff on your own?
So kind of, I found it in a weird way. I was living it live. Like I was a huge Weaker Thans fan, like from the jump. Like when Fallow came out, that was my shit. Uh, but the way I came to his solo stuff was, and John, you've heard of Greg McPherson, right? He was on
Sure.
G7 Welcoming Committee, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he did a U.S. tour years ago, and I played a show with him in Virginia Beach, and he ended up staying at my old singer's house. Uh, and we went to the beach and we are just kind of talking about stuff. I was like, yeah, so you're on G7 Welcoming Committee. I was like, when's the next Weaker Than's record coming out? And he was like, you know, he kind of told me that he's like, I think at some point John Samson's just gonna like kind of branch off and do his own thing. Like that's just the way he seems as a person. Is he'd rather just kind of do the stuff himself anyway. And so that always kind of stuck in the back of my head. And then when I found out that they broke up, I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm waiting on the solo record now. And then kind of caught wind of those, like, those kind of one-off songs that he was doing, and was listening to those. I checked some stuff out on YouTube. Just some of the live performances of some of those early songs I thought were like really powerful, just from a singer-songwriter perspective. But and I'm kind of with John in that like it can kind of go, it feels like it can go either way in terms of it being its own thing versus it being extension of the Weaker Thans. And that you're right, it's absolutely, he has a very kind of obvious style, and
Hmm.
a lot of that has to do with the inflection in his vocals. He just has a unique voice anyway because he's barely singing. Like he's just a guy with a higher pitched voice talking a lot of the times. um, but so I kind of came into it like through a weird way, and then just kind of like sat with it when that first full length for, I think it was Provincial, came out. Uh, but yeah, it's interesting thinking about it because in some ways it's a lot different than the Weaker Thans,
Mm.
and in some ways like it feels like somebody put the Weaker Thans in a room and that started playing and then just started putting people on mute. It's- but yeah, it's a weird one for sure.
So, I mean, obviously, when John puts this one on the board, I don't know who it is, and then we do the Weaker Thans, and then it kind of gets explained to me. And so, like when you push play, that's why I thought to ask, do you view it as an extension? Because there are times where it just feels like not necessarily like, oh, this is a Weaker Than song, but oh yeah, that this is the guy from the Weaker Thans. Like there's no
Oh,
denying
there,
it.
there's a cat. There's a cat that's going to be involved too.
Oh yeah,
That ties it all together as well.
oh yeah.
Fucking cat.
And I thought you nailed it in your description, John. You said like this guy can like he can really break your heart. And like I found myself listening, like not quite listening hard to the lyrics, just kind of listening to him singing. And like I was getting sad, and I looked down, and you look at like the song title and what it's about, you kind of, we'll get to it when we start talking about like the song specifically. But like I'm like, this is what he's got me upset about. It's just okay, all right, well, we'll come back to that. But yeah, it is delightfully weird, at times. Like there is like a somber tone most of the time, but it's there's a delightful weirdness that isn't like, there's like a playfulness to it, but not like necessarily tonal, like sound wise, you know what I mean? Like tonally playful, but not like jaunty, I guess is the word I'm looking for. But this isn't, I believe we talked about it doing this one like last go around, like when we did Waxahachie, John. The second we were done, I said, all right, let's do John K Samson. You immediately had the list ready. So clearly you were ready to do this one. How
I mean, there's two records and a few extra songs.
Yeah.
It didn't take long.
but I mean you were at the ready. So like
Yeah.
I mean it's not enough music for us to pull 20, so it's a pick 15. Did you find that hurt your how you came about this, or did it help?
No, well, I've just changed one since we've been talking, so take that as you will. But Yeah, it was tough because I've been listening to this a lot over the last few months, so I had a pretty good idea of what I was going to pick. But then as I was listening, it was like, oh no, this one, like, this one's got to be on there. And I had a few surprises that I wouldn't have thought I would with at the beginning that ended up on my list because, like, yeah, it's just a phrase here, like a musical phrase here, like just something that grabs you. But yeah, I mean, I really could have picked all of them. I mean, the guy doesn't have any bad songs.
Yeah.
So, Chris, did you find only having 15 songs a hindrance, or did it help?
No, small. It's small numbers, so it
Yeah,
was pretty easy for me. And I'm kind of the same way. Like, I mean, we've done how many of these? I'm like one. I always end up with John, and I love
that's
it.
true. Yeah.
Like, I feel like a lot of the times we like the same stuff for different reasons, and to me, that's really kind of interesting. So I'm imagining there's going to be a lot of overlap, but kind of, talking about how he can kind of break your heart. One thing that I've always found with him as a writer, uh, is he. All right, so I'm gonna kind of break this up into two pieces. The first thing is, he reminds me of a Kurt Vonnegut quote, or his writing reminds me of a Kurt Vonnegut quote, and that's just, I'm going to paraphrase, but it says, like, I urge you at some point to please notice when you're happy and exclaim or murmur something or along that lines, that if this isn't nice, I don't know what is.
Mm.
And to me, John Samson songs come from two polar opposites and work towards each other. So
Wow.
he takes these like big, heavy things, like, and we'll get into it in a little bit later when we start talking about that fucking cat. But there's uh there's something that he does with these big emotions, these kind of gigantic feelings that we get throughout our lives, and he makes them smaller. But then he takes the small things in our lives that can bring us joy and makes them bigger.
Mm.
So that's what I mean. Like, there's kind of approaching things from opposite directions, but kind of moving towards the middle on a lot of stuff for me. Like, it's with the cat. That was like, that guy's made me cry about that cat like 4 or 5 fucking times. It drives me insane.
Yeah, my wife won't listen to the song that's on here. She won't listen to the song that we're going to talk about because she's like, nope, I'm not going to do it.
Yep.
I'm going to cry, and I refuse to listen to that song ever.
Yeah, but then you listen to some of his other songs, and there's all these tiny little details about things that everybody kind of notices throughout their day that can bring them a little bit of joy. And he'll weave an entire song out of, like, just pretty much listing those things off, like, especially in the weaker thens. But he also does it in his solo stuff as well. But it wasn't hard to pick 15 out of them because so many of these songs I've sat with and absorbed at very like core levels of my being for so many years that I could just go, all right, these are the ones that like floored me at any given point. And the ones that didn't floor me, they're going to get there eventually. Like, it's just that I haven't hit that time in my life where it's kind of connected me into it yet.
Oh,
And you're getting 50% of them anyway. There's only
yeah.
30, and we're getting 15. It's not like, not like we had to throw a bunch of them out. You're still getting half.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to, if you do the maths,
Yeah.
if that
Yeah.
helps, that no, to firstly, I love that. I love how you put that. Like he really does. There's a song that I picked solely because it seems like nonsense, but like there's so much joy in it that I had to, and I didn't even realize it until you said it. And again, we'll get to it when we get to song choices, but like, yeah, there's a lot of that, and I I hesitate to say it was easy because that's ridiculous. It never is, but like, I tried not to overthink it. I tried to go with my heart because it felt right. You know what I mean? Like, it's what he would want me to do. Is, well, maybe he wouldn't want me to do a show about him at all, but uh I don't know. Like, it felt like if I overthought which 15 I was bringing here, then I was doing something wrong. I had to live in the moment. I had to feel it, and so I went with a lot of feelings, which sometimes leads to messy episodes, John. Based on everything we've said, like, we haven't given too much away here, but based on everything we said, there's not a lot here, but is there enough that we could be all over the place? How many do you think we get through unanimously?
Yeah. I'm gonna
Say
play.
six.
I'm gonna play a little bit of the math game, and I'm gonna say 7.
Ooh, yeah, I like it. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, 6.
6. Okay.
There's always going to be some, like, Justin, you're going to come up with something that probably neither of us have, or I'll be that guy. Like, I know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It always happens.
So then that means, do I go more positive than you guys, or do I go the other way? Well, it's never there for me to take, so I'm going to go ahead and take 5. I do agree with you guys. I do feel like 7 may actually even be undercutting. Like, I feel like there's a good possibility we get 8 here, but I'll play on the safe side today.
Yeah, like there's no way that two of us have picked the exact opposite songs. Like there's just no way.
Right. Exactly. All right, so we are going to take a quick pause, and when we come back, we're going to play the game. It's the program. And with that, the name of the game is Deprogrammed. The three of us have combed through the John K Samson discography, which includes 2 records and a couple extra songs, and plucked out 15 songs that we're now going to mash together in an attempt to create a top 10 starter kit for you, in case you have never listened to John K Samson songs. And we kept talking about the heart, and I'm going to go with my heart here because a lot of times I have an idea of where I want to start on my list, and I was listening to the list, the whole thing, before we went on, and when this song came on, I was like, that's on my list, right? It was. I was like, okay, well, that tells me something. I'm going to start there. Heart of the Continent.
Got it.
Yeah, that's the first one of his that I remember hearing where it has the line about, standing in front of an automatic door, just another door that won't open for me anymore. And you're just like, oh, that just kills.
Mm.
Like you get a full picture, you get a full story about this whole thing from just one line. And yeah, absolutely, I have it.
And again, like it's somber, it's sad, it's story, it's a lot in 4 minutes. And it's gorgeous. Like it really is just a pretty song, and it really just got my attention. So all right, there we go. One down. John?
All right, Grace General.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, hopefully these aren't just the obvious ones, but off to a good start.
I can throw one. I'll throw a curveball for mine. Because it's not on any specific album, but you ready for it?
Yeah, let's go.
Fantasy Baseball at the End of the World.
Yeah, I got it.
Yep, I got it.
Damn. All right, cool. Yeah, there's something really magical about John Samson's, like, meager sounding voice saying the next fascist fucker. Like, all right, man, I'm upset about that too, but I also feel like I don't have enough power to change it.
No, this is the song I was talking about. Like when I was listening to it, it literally, he is talking about fantasy baseball, and it's like this little thing in people's lives. I mean, again, it's surrounded by all these other bigger ideas, but like, yeah, dude, like, fantasy baseball hasn't done this to me yet specifically, but fantasy hockey has definitely looped me in there, and it's like this little tiny thing in my life that just brings me joy for just like a day, or 10 minutes, at the beginning of the day when I'm setting my lineup or something. And it's just like thinking about having that, and again, you've got all this other stuff around it, but like, I just love the idea that he wrote a song centered around fantasy baseball. Just great.
I just love that he plays fantasy baseball. That seems like way too normal of a thing for him to be doing.
Yeah. Who do you think his team is?
Oh, who knows?
The
Gotta be
Samsonites.
somebody awful.
Well, let's
The
see.
Samsonites.
It's got to be a Virtute thing. Viva Virtute.
Probably.
Right?
Yeah, probably. Maybe a Mariners fan, like that side of the um,
And
country.
you go Toronto to keep it Canadian,
I guess that's the only
He's still hanging on to
team.
the Expos.
right?
Somebody should.
Hey, they've talked about bringing a team back there. We'll see.
I loved Montreal.
Me too.
I'd live there if it wasn't so damn cold.
I went to an expo. We'll talk about this and after the fact. We don't need to get into that. All right. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Wow. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I guess that kind of throws me off because we've kind of done the ones that I was like super sure about. I'll do the one that, again, I always ask every week. I ask listeners, what do you consider essential? And I assumed I wouldn't get anything because I'm pretty sure I didn't get anything when I asked about the Weaker Thens. But I did get an answer for John K Samson. And it was this, Post-Doc Blues.
I don't have that one.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
It's not a bad song by any
I mean,
stretch.
obviously. But, okay. Well, I thought I'd throw that one out there because it was the only answer I got. So, all right, John?
All right, this one I remember. I don't know if I was reading an interview or listening to him on a podcast, but he said this song was his favorite one that he'd ever done, and it's a little bit. So we'll see how it goes. Quiz Night at Looky Lou's.
Don't have it, but I love like how playful that song is, and like it feels really weird listening to it. Like God, there was this movie, and I can't recall the name of it, but it was one of those like Project Greenlight movies that came out. Do you guys remember that? Or that whole like
Vaguely.
Project Greenlight? Yeah, it was like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck like kind of helped people make their own movies or whatever. It was like I think it was on HBO or something like that. But there was a movie that came out of it where it was a bunch of people trapped in a bar, but like the kind with like really dark oak, like kind of wood all over the place, and like the kind of place where you know that they had like a trivia night and karaoke night in the same place, or on the same night, I should say. But that's the way that feels to me. It's like this because I've hosted trivia before, and that's how that song just kind of like that puts me right back to when I used to host it at Murphy's out at the oceanfront. And I was a fill-in, but I did it for like a month. But it's very accurate sounding, if that makes sense.
Totally. All right. Chris.
Did you have that one, Justin?
No. Oh, sorry. I never answered. No, I didn't.
Okay.
Chris, you're up.
All right. I am going to go with the one of the duets he did with his wife. So I'm going to go with Taps Reversed because that song has this really interesting way of like romanticizing minutia. Like, you know, wrapping all of your bills in like a rubber band so you can keep them all in the same kind of place kind of stuff. Like that kind of always like resonates with me because it just feels like this really neat little detail that's completely just it means nothing, but it feels like something.
I love the way you describe it, but I don't have it.
That's
can't save you.
All
fair
right.
enough.
Number one, this next one, I had to. You listen to the song, and it is exactly what you think it is when you list the song, and the link works. www.ipetitions.com/petitions/Riverton Rifle/.
I don't have it, but
No.
that was one of the ones. Was that the one that you were talking about when you were talking about how it like it seemed really silly?
Yeah.
But that's kind of what caught you. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like he really is talking about a petition, and I mean, what better way?
Passed, by the way, because it was like it wasn't written the same way as it was in the song, but they did kind of I think it was in Winnipeg still, where they came out and kind of let him go and talk before them, and they wrote the resolution, and it reads somewhat like the song in format, where it starts off like each line with "whereas"
Yeah,
and ends with "therefore."
yeah. I just was like, man, that is ingenious. Like it's clever on a level that I couldn't, like it seems so simple. It's literally a petition, but like it's in song form. And I don't know, I love that idea. So, all right, John.
All right, let's try to hit one here. I'm gonna rip off the band-aid, and we're gonna talk about this cat. If people don't know, there were two songs that the Weaker Thans had about a cat named Virtute. Um, Plea from a cat named Virtute, the first one, and then Virtute, the cat explains her departure. And in this one, the story ends in a very, very sad way, and one of the saddest songs you'll ever hear in your entire life in a minute and 30 seconds, however long it is. Virtute at rest.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Like you said, you got to take the band-aid off, but it had to be done. Like we can't do this show without that song.
No, you really can't. And the fact
Yeah.
that like, I mean, one, I always love like when there's stories woven across albums, especially when it jumps from a band to a solo record.
Hmm.
One, I thought that was really cool, but I also know it's like a super personal subject for him, so totally makes sense. But the fact that the song can be that short and turn me into a puddle, just it creates like an appreciation and an anger at me at the same time. That's like weird to describe.
Oh, I mean, it's completely accurate too, because it really is like it is all the other songs. It is all the other stories. It and it just weighs on this song, and then it's written in a way that is going to elicit that emotion no matter what because of the subject matter. But like you still have to you still have to hit it. Like I mean, you talk about we're talking about baseball before, but sure, Barry Bonds may have done steroids, but he still had to hit the ball. Like
Steroids can't help you make solid contact.
right. Like I mean, you can talk about a cat dying, but like you still have to write a good song about it. Like it still has to be good. And then this is exceptionally so. Like it really is. It does tug at the heartstrings, and to your point, like the weight of everything before it. So we had to have
Yeah.
that.
Well, and it's I feel like everybody kind of humanizes their animals, like anthropomorphizes.
Hmm.
you know,
Oh, sure.
yeah, and but that's part of it, right? Like me and my girlfriend, like I feel like we talk to each other as one of the dogs more often than not. Like, and it's this thing that like just runs so deep into the core of who humans are is their pets and like
Hmm.
what they choose to surround themselves with and take care of and nurture. And so like yeah, it's just oh god, brutal.
All right. Well, there we are at 4, with plenty of songs left up on the table. So, Chris, you're up.
Uh, I will go with one that I'm pretty sure was written with Seymour Skinner and Edna Krabappel in mind, and that would be The Last And.
Yeah, I got it.
Yep.
Hey, gotta
Yeah,
love a
very
Simpsons reference.
yeah, always, but very uh feels like winter to me. I mean, and it's obviously talks about the window blowing snow in the first line, but I've been in classrooms when it was snowing outside, and it kind of had that weird silent feeling to it while you're listening to it too, where like it kind of shuts out everything except for what's like right in front of you. Now,
And that line too, like I'm just your little ampersand, like that. You can
yeah.
get so much out of that one line, like yeah, unbelievable.
Well, and even like that exit line too, like describing the I guess the overall literary reference to it, like the last conjunction after every other and. I was
Hmm.
like, well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly what that is. I thought that was a neat little throw in.
All right. There we are, right there at 5. So we just need to make sure we do better than 5, so I don't get stuck with this last pick. All right. Last Stand is a 3. All right, let's try this one on for size. How about Select All Delete?
I've got that one.
Yep.
Hey, there we go. The responsibility is no longer mine. I'm happy for
What
that.
if we have exactly 10 that we all agree on?
That would be great.
Then we're done.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would love that. And for the record, I don't think that's out of the realm. You know, I actually think the way we're going, it is not out of the realm to go past.
I still
10.
have 8. I still have 8 left.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7. So yeah, like it's not out of the realm that we get to and maybe perhaps skate past 10. All right, John.
All right. So this one is Virtute adjacent. There's a line in it where he talks about the cat running away, so it ties into that same story. 17th Street Treatment Center.
Oh, I didn't catch that one. I don't have it.
Don't. That was my last cut though.
I bet you anything I would have had I caught that. Sometime. Oh, duh. It would help if you put the right button sometimes, Justin. All right, Chris?
How about, let's see, Letter in Icelandic from the Ninet San.
Sometimes these
Or
titles.
San? I know it's Sanatorium.
Sanatorium, yeah.
I don't have that one.
I do. That was one of the ones I was talking about that kind of surprised me that I had it. But yeah, that line where the Bev Monroe line where he talks about, play at the party and then the band comes in and it's just this really subtle thing, but it just feels like a crash because it's been so intimate and all of a sudden this band is in. It's like one of my favorite moments in his catalog.
I love that.
Sure. Yeah, there's a little spot in my heart for it too, because when I was working at the hospital in Norfolk, I sat on the hallway that linked the main hospital to the children's hospital, and they have that line in there about being on the way to the children's ward.
Oh, the children's ward, break your heart, man. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
See, and these are the things that if I would have probably had one more go through, I really probably should have figured out a way to do it, because it was like, what, an hour and a half? I should have tried to figure out a way to give it one more go, but I did not.
Shame.
It is. Shame him.
Hey, it's in the conversation. It's still got a chance.
Yeah, totally. How about Fellow Traveler?
I do not have that one.
I do.
Oh, all right. Boom. That one gets to hang around for another day. All right, John.
All right. How about let's go title track Winter Wheat.
I got it.
Okay, I don't. Boom and boom. Twos abound. All right, Chris?
Let's go with Highway 1 West.
Yes.
No.
Really? I'm kind of surprised by that one.
Yeah.
I mean, not disappointed, but I would have thought that one would have made it. I thought that was a really good ending track.
Very much so. Well, since we're there, I'll try out the other one, Highway 1 East.
I've got that one too.
Nope.
John said, "Fuck interstates."
Highway 1.
Yeah.
You stupid Canadian roads.
It's all just prairie and moose.
All right.
Yeah, no, I think it was a matter of like, if I wasn't gonna take both of them, like which one do you pick? Like, I don't know. Just decided not to.
I mean, yeah, like that's kind of why I had both. It felt like if I've got West, I gotta have East, and then you go and you listen to East, and I'm like, yeah, I gotta have East. I can't give her to West, so All right. Well, I'm actually down to the last 4 here. So, John.
Yeah, I got 4 as well. Let's go when I write my master's thesis.
I got that one.
I don't. 2, 2. All right, Chris.
I'm gonna go with something more mid-tempo, to kind of keep in with the when I write my master's thesis theme. Longitudinal center.
Fuck me. I think that was like number 16.
Same here. That was the one that I literally cut as we were talking for a quiz night at Lucky Lou's.
Oh.
There's one line in there that always got me for some reason. I think it was the one. It's the sun pulls me out and then lets me go. I'm a vacuum power cord in the back of that van full of kids cleaning carpets for the Lord.
Yeah.
And I grew up around a lot of Young Life bullshit. Like, it was like right around the corner from my house.
Youth groups and stuff.
Yeah. Like, what are you guys doing this weekend? I don't know. Probably a fucking scavenger hunt. Like, but then, like, there was something about hearing that, like, yeah, they were always asking for money in some way, shape, or form, which is ironic because their parents were some of the wealthier ones in Virginia Beach.
All right. I mean, we might as well just play out at this point, I think. There's only a couple left. How about Millennium for All?
I don't have that one, but I love that song in general. Like, one, he's just really good at like writing songs for like tiny causes that he likes, like a library closing, or getting Reggie Leach into the Hall of Fame.
I mean, that's in the new band too, like RBC and all that stuff. Like, yeah, he's continuing that.
All right, John.
Back to me already. Alpha Adept.
Ooh, no.
No, but I'm kind of regretting it now. Just looking at my remainders.
All right, Chris.
Let's go Capital.
Nope.
No, I loved it, but that was a tough cut at the very end.
All right. How about VPW 13 Blues?
I don't have that one.
I do. Yes.
Hey. I think we're officially out of NTP, right?
Back in those old punk rock days.
All right, John?
My last one is Requests.
Yes, I got it.
I don't have that one.
All right, 2. All right, so John is out. That means the official count, it was 6, right? 1, 2.
Yep.
I got one more.
Well, I just mean like we can't get any more unanimous.
Oh, yeah.
So Chris is gonna win at 6. All right. You said you got one more?
Yep.
All right.
Prayer for Ruby Elm.
No. Prayer for Ruby Elm. There at the bottom. Well, we covered it.
So what do I win?
You get the last. You get to choose 10, song number 10. All right. Well, just for clerical reasons, let me get these last ones out here. I had also had Cruise Night. And then, oh wait, no, because John had requests, so Cruise Night was my last one. All right, so 6 it is. So let's run down the 6 we got. Heart of the Continent, Grace General, Fantasy Baseball at the End of the World, Virtute at Rest, The Last Stand, Select All Delete, I can read. Wow, like that's, first of all, hell of a start. And then we've got 8 that we need to trim down to 3, and then Chris will have the final say. So let's tackle this one first. Highway 1 West and East. Like
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying, is like, because we either have to take both or neither, I feel like I don't.
We can. We'll see. I don't know that I think there's more on here that I'd be willing to fight for besides those.
Yeah, so, well, that's what I'm saying is, like, I don't know. It would feel weird to break them up. But here's what we got. Letter in Icelandic from the Nanette San, or that's why all it says is San. Fellow Traveler, Winter Wheat, Highway 1 West and East, When I Write My Master's Thesis, VP 13 Blues, VPW 13 Blues, and Requests. So if I read those 8 out to you, John, is there one that you're going, man, that should have been a homer?
Yeah, I think there's 2 that I think really need to be on. It's Letter in Icelandic and Winter Wheat.
Well, I was the odd man out on both of those, so
I agree on both of those.
I'm with it.
But I was the other one. On
Yeah,
both of them.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, Letter in Icelandic from the Night at Sand, like there's something magical about that song. When the band kicks in, like you were saying, that caught me from the jump with that song and just never let me go. Like, I love that song so goddamn much.
All right, so we'll take both of those. So, as far as song number 9, John, is there one at this point that you're thinking, all right, this one can probably just go home? Like
Yeah, I don't think we probably. I mean, we can. I don't know that we need to talk about style, but like we don't have any of like the blues ones, and I think we got 25 out of the 30 songs, but nobody picked Vampire Alberta Blues, which is another one that I really like that I was really close to picking.
Same.
But I think, I mean, VPW 13 Blues is interesting, but I don't know that we need it. That would be maybe one that I would say is, happy to be here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know I keep looking at Fellow Traveler.
Oh God, I'm glad you said that, because that's the one I was looking at.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one that I think probably, and it's one that's a little more upbeat. It's not a downer one, so it represents a little more of that side of him. That would probably be the one that I would pick.
That's the one I was looking at.
If you twisted my arm. Yeah.
All right, so let's take Fellow Traveler as our number 9. And now I'll read out the ones that are still around, Chris, and I will include the one that we just bumped out because, again, technically you can pick it. You can pick anything off the list that isn't already in. But Highway 1 West, Highway 1 East, When I Write My Master's Thesis, VP 13 Blues, and Requests are all still alive. I would prefer if song number 10 was one of those, but you can...
No, do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want.
Something crazy.
Yeah.
Pick one out of the trash. Go nuts.
Crazy. Farewell Faded Memory off the Slips and Tangle tape.
Nice. Nice.
No, not really. Okay, so I would say... All right, list those off to me one more time, and then I'm going to ask you guys a question, too.
Well, I'll help you stall first. Like, we could talk about Slips and Tangles, because there's probably some people listening to this that are like, they didn't even talk about Slips and Tangles tape. But the tape is great, but it's more of like it's a very kind of rudimentary style for him. I think his songwriting progressed to where the current stuff is at a higher level than the tape was. I mean, it's interesting as kind of an artifact to see kind of where he was at the time and what he would become, but I don't think any of those songs can really stand up to his later output. Yeah,
yeah, not even close. I just always like, and I love the fact that Greenest Eyes was on there, like, and kind of expanded out, like, 'cause that was a great propaganda song on the first record.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm going to toss Highway 1 West and East, because I think, like Justin was saying, like, if you have one, like, having the other one with there as a companion's kind of neat. But no. So what remains after that, Justin?
When I Write My Master's Thesis and Requests.
Wait, there was the VPW.
Oh, I'm sorry, VPW 13 Blues as well. Yes.
Okay, so between When I Write My Master's Thesis and VPW, what would your guys' arguments be? Like, if I'm the judge, how would you present that case?
Interesting. Would you like to take the floor first, John?
Well, like VPW 13 Blues, it does have just that line back in those old punk rock days, which speaks to me. But then Request is another like heartbreaker that I want you to know what I forgive you for now that you're all ashes anyway. Like, oh my God, just pull me up off the floor. So I don't know. And when I write my master's thesis, a little more of the academic side. It's another more of an upbeat rocker, but I think Requests would probably be if you're looking for input. I think Requests is the one that is really that has that extra like power to it that can really that he's really good at. That exemplifies his style more than any of the other ones, I think.
Yeah, I think the question is, more like, do you want to represent style as in sound? Because, to John's point earlier, do we need a blues song? I mean, it does exist, but do we need it? Or do you want to find something that kind of fits in cozy with a lot of the other songs that we picked? And to me, Requests is the one that fits in cozy.
All right, so I'm the judge, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and John, you were saying do something unexpected?
Do whatever you want, man.
All right, you're both overruled. I'm going with Taps Reversed.
Nice. Love it.
But all those songs are great. Like I'd stick with Taps Reversed because I love the back and forth between him and his wife. She's an amazing musician in her own right.
Yeah. You've heard Hypothetical, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. He did a song on one of her solo records called Hypothetical, and it's kind of like a poem, like a story. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'm gonna go with Taps Reversed. Outside of that, like I would have gone with When I Write My Master's Thesis if I wasn't throwing something in there. But again, like I feel like with him there are no wrong answers.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's you won the final say. You get to do what you want. So Taps Reversed it is.
That was all talent. It was all talent.
It's all talent.
Oh, speaking of talent, I do have some fun news for you guys. My girlfriend just got nominated for an Emmy.
What?
Right on.
Yeah. For she did some I think it was like PBS or NPR or something like that, where she did the vocals on a song about not using styrofoam cups, and somehow it's now it's
awesome.
now nominated for an Emmy.
Does she get to go?
No.
Ah.
It's the people who wrote the song. She just did the vocals for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was...
Wow.
So now she's demanding that I address her as Emmy-nominated vocalist.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Which, fuck yeah, man, you earned it.
Yeah, you got to do it.
That's right.
That's rad.
You kind of have to. All right, so I'm going to run this down, and then we'll crank up the heat a little bit here. So we've got Heart of the Continent, Grace General, Fantasy Baseball at the End of the World, Virtute at Rest, The Last Stand, Select All Delete, Letter in Icelandic from Nanette San, Winter Wheat, Fellow Traveler, Taps Reversed. John, if I asked you which one of those is the one, which one would you pick?
Yeah, I mean, I could make a case for all of them, but to me, the one that really jumps out is the first one of his solo songs that really stuck with me. It's Heart of the Continent.
I like it. That's the one I'm eyeballing too. What do you think, Chris?
Same.
Okay.
That was kind of the same thing. That was the first song I heard that he was doing solo, and it was a live version when I heard it. But yeah, that song sways in the best possible way.
Yeah, I'm in. I like it. You don't have to push me too hard. I'm with it. All right. So Heart of the Continent is our number one. Grace General, Fantasy Baseball at the End of the World, Virtute at Rest, The Last Stand, Select All Delete, Letters in Icelandic from the Nanette San, Winter Wheat, Fellow Traveler, Taps Reversed rounds out our 10. Let's let Heart of the Continent get a moment in the sun.
We're resurrected, brick and drywall back into place. There's a terrified or reflection.
You know
of my
immediately what
face.
you're in for once you get to this song. So,
100%.
all right, we have done it. We have turned you on to John K. Samson. You're very welcome for that, by the way. We're humble people here, but we've done good work. So we worked hard. It was all talent, as Chris said. All home runs. Who would have
It
guessed?
took 45 minutes to put that list together, I'll have you know.
All right, folks. You know what to do. This is a podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, subscribe. That would be great. There is a Q&A that you can answer what you think the essential songs by this artist, particularly on this episode, John K. Samson. You can answer however you want. You know, hey, I can't believe you didn't talk about this song. Okay, well, put it there in the Q&A. We would appreciate that. Rating us also helps a great deal. So if you could do that, I would appreciate that as well. Same thing for Apple Podcasts. Wherever you're listening, subscribe. That would be great. Some sort of comment would also be great. The best way you can help the show is by sharing, of course. Hey, I listen to Deprogrammed. You should too. I think that would be super awesome of you. Patreon.com/show. Hi, Justin's a great place to go. If you would like to help out monetarily, it's $1 to get in the door. And you get Hi Justins, which are almost daily again. You get Deprogrammed Before the Rest of the World. You get the conversation we're about to have called After the Fact. And, other things go there occasionally, I guess. You also get access to certain special channels in the Discord, the Legion of Stupid Discord, where we do the show whenever the show happens. I was about to say weekly, but it doesn't really happen weekly. It is right now, but it doesn't always do that. I'm rambling. So what we're going to do is go John K. Samson. Learn him and love him, people. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.